Insight to Zebulun. My study for this series on the 12 tribes of Israel is following the order in which Jacob blesses his sons. Up until this point, the order he blesses each one has been the same order in which they were born. At the blessing of Zebulun, however, we see the pattern change, and we jump from Judah, the 4th son born to Jacob, and go to Zebulun, the 10th son to be born. There's potentially a very good reason for this, which I'll take a look at later on in this study. For the moment, what we can observe here at the birth of Zebulun is the ongoing strife and competition between his mother Leah and her sister Rachel. Earlier, at the birth of Judah, Leah showed that she was in a much more peaceful place personally and offered her praise to God for the arrival of this 4th son. This is reflected by the fact that she named him Judah, which means praise. By the time we get to the birth of Zebulun, however, their 6th son together, Leah is back to expressing a heart of discontent as she longs for her husband's affections. The scriptures show this clearly as she calls her son Zebulun, which means dwelling. We hear Leah's reasoning as she says, God has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him 6 sons. Leah clearly wants Jacob to dwell with her and sees her ability to give him sons as an incentive for him to do so. As I mentioned in my study of Reuben, the culture of the day placed great value and importance on having many children, especially male heirs. And so Leah is revealing here that she believes she will win Jacob's love by the fact that she has now provided him with 6 sons. That's 6 males who will carry on the family name and increase the family's chances of having financial security. In addition to reading about Leah's ongoing heartache, Genesis chapter 30 also shows us that the competition between Leah and her younger sister Rachel is still clearly rife. We can hear the continual resentment in Leah's heart within their conversation in verses 14 to 15. Prior to this, we read in the text that Reuben, Leah's eldest son, comes home to his mother and brings her some mandrakes. This is quite significant, as mandrakes were believed to be a fruit of fertility, and in the Hebrew language, the word mandrake actually translates as love apple. The family obviously buys into this old wives' tale, and Rachel comes to Leah asking her to share some of the mandrakes with her, in the hope that she may also bear children. Leah responds with the words, "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also?" Leah is clearly still very bitter in her heart towards Rachel, even after all these years, and seems to be looking for any excuse to start an argument. Rachel then goes on to bargain with her older sister and promises she can have Jacob's physical company that night in exchange for some of Leah's supply of the so-called fertility fruit. The irony here, of course, is that while Rachel goes on to be the one in possession of the fertility fruit, it's Leah who conceives not only a 5th son that night, but also a 6th son further down the line. What's very clear at this point in the text, however, is that neither woman is happy or content with their lot in life. Despite Leah's former attitude of praise, she doesn't seem to have continued on in this frame of mind. Her sharp and resentful words cut like a knife as she addresses her sister, and the tension between the two obviously hasn't dissipated. The birth of Zebulun gives a window into a home that is sadly anything but peaceful. The animosity between the sisters evidently filters down into their children, as we read later on that Zebulun, son of Leah, played a part in the selling of his brother Joseph, son of Rachel. Although Zebulun isn't mentioned specifically by name in Genesis chapter 37, he would definitely have been present at this awful scene and would have had his say in the matter. Thankfully, although the brothers' motives were evil, God had other plans and used their malicious actions to actually save the entire nation of Israel. I think it's amazing to consider God's grace in this scenario, which I also mention in the poem. In spite of Zebulun having a hand in this wicked plot, he was on the receiving end of both Joseph's and God's mercy when their relationship was restored in Genesis chapter 45. The life of Zebulun really highlights that although bitterness can seep like a poison through generations of a family, when God steps in, grace can abound.